You're 3 feet from the television, the good speakers on, a plate of something going cold on the arm of the couch because it's stoppage time in a World Cup match, and the man with the ball just earned more this month than you'll make this decade. 90,000 people are screaming his name. Here's the shot the broadcast will never cut to. A few years after a final whistle like this one, a player just like him will stand in a nearly empty room while an auctioneer sells off his shirts to cover a tax bill. He didn't have a money problem. He had a wealth problem. And the worst part is, so do you. Jake learned that the slow way. Tonight his banking app says $812. So let's put the real number up. One of England's finest goalkeepers, David James, 25 years at the top at clubs like Liverpool and Portsmouth, earned an estimated £20 million. In 2014, a court declared him bankrupt. £20 million. All the way down to zero. Not lost on anything exotic, lost because his lifestyle rose to swallow every check while he banked almost none of it. So here's the whole video in one sentence. A paycheck was never wealth. Wealth is only what you keep after lifestyle takes its cut. And the taxman? He played all 90 minutes of that career and never subbed off, collecting on every payday whether the player set a penny aside or not. That same math is running on your paycheck right now at a number you can actually check. So let's check it. Walk his story line by line. In his own autobiography, James admitted that at the height of his career he'd buy new cars rather than fix the ones he had, and buy new shoes rather than clean the ones he owned. Don't read that as a quirk. Read it as the engine. Every time the money went up, the spending rose to meet it, automatically, like water finding the top of a glass. That's lifestyle creep. And it's the most expensive habit on earth precisely because it never feels like a decision. Then came the trigger these stories so often share. A divorce in 2005, and a structure with no savings underneath it simply caved. By the end, the auction house was selling more than 100 of his signed shirts. One of them, the shirt he wore at the 2002 World Cup, went for £672. A World Cup shirt, the symbol of the peak, sold to pay down the wreckage of the bottom. And he wasn't alone. Another player of that era earned a fortune of his own and was bankrupt within a few years over an unpaid tax bill. A chunk of it lost to gambling. Same pattern underneath the headline. A huge income with no plan for the day it stopped. Now hold on to this because it's the whole point. David James was not stupid, and he was not reckless. He did exactly what the game in front of him rewarded. Earn loudly, spend to match, assume the checks would never stop. The villain here isn't the man. It's a single number nobody ever told him to watch, and we're going to use it for the rest of this video. We call it the keep rate, the share of every dollar that actually stays with you after your life takes its cut. James had an income most people can't imagine, and a keep rate of basically zero. And a keep rate of zero does the same thing to £20 million that it does to $20,000. It empties. But there's a version of this same story where the man keeps almost all of it. So hold that thought. At Mr. Sense, we spend an unhealthy amount of time pulling apart exactly how people who earn fortunes end up with nothing. So if you've ever made more than you used to and still felt just as tight, you're in the right place. We break down one money trap every other day, so you see the next one before it sees you. Now you've seen the scary headline that something like 60% of Premier League footballers go broke within 5 years of retiring. We won't hand you that number, because when you actually chase it, there's no real study underneath it. The charity credited with it has been quoted at 40% in one place and 60% in another, and the head of the players' union at the time put the real figure closer to 10 to 20%. The one genuinely rigorous study we have is on NFL players, and it found about 16% had filed for bankruptcy within 12 years of retiring. 16, not 60. And honestly, 16% is the scarier number, because it's close to the rate for ordinary people the same age. Translate that. A multi-million-dollar career bought almost no protection at all. The wealth manager, meanwhile, built a beautiful portfolio for the wealth manager. His lifestyle never crept. He was too busy collecting a slice of yours. And this is the line you've been waiting to use. Yes, see? Fine, but that's athletes. That's millions. That's not me. Stay with me, because here's where the story turns around and looks straight at you. As of January, about half of Americans earning $100,000 a year or more were living paycheck to paycheck. Not half of everyone. Half of the people who, on paper, made it. Go up a tier. 1 in 5 households pulling in $150,000 a year are in the exact same spot. These aren't broke people. They're running David James's playbook on a smaller field. The bigger mortgage, the nicer car, the upgraded everything. Rising dollar for dollar with the raise. Keep rate flat on the floor. You're not different from the broke superstar. You're just earlier in the same story. Zoom all the way out, and the whole country is on this treadmill. The personal saving rate, the share of income Americans actually hold on to instead of spending, sat at about 2.6% this spring. 2.6. We now bank under 3 cents of every dollar we take home. At the peak of 2020, that number was over 30%, about a third of every dollar. In 5 years, we went from keeping a third to keeping almost nothing. And here's a question worth holding. If you're spending 97 cents of every dollar, somebody is receiving those 97 cents, and they'd very much like to keep it that way. We'll name them before the end. So let's make it concrete with someone who isn't a millionaire. Jake. Last year, Jake got the raise he'd been chasing, $10,000 more a year, which after taxes landed as about $600 extra a month. A real win. He'd earned it. And here's what Jake did with it, which is what almost everyone does with it. He met the bank manager, traded in the paid-off car he'd been driving, and rolled off the lot in a new one at $748 a month, right at the national average for a new car payment. The bank manager didn't frown when Jake upgraded. He got a bonus. Then Jake moved to an apartment that cost $300 more because the old place suddenly felt like the old Jake. Now walk it down. A $600 raise meets a $748 car payment and a $300 rent bump, and Jake is already $448 underwater on a raise. Take his new take-home. Around $5,000 a month. Rent and utilities gone. He's at $2,200. The car and the insurance gone. He's at $1,100. Food, the phone, the basics. And now he's at the number that was supposed to become wealth, and it's a rounding error. His keep rate after a $10,000 raise is exactly what it was before the raise. 0. And he's not unusual. He's one of the 30% of American adults who, by their own account, couldn't cover 3 months of expenses by any means. Then the stress test. A bad quarter, a layoff, a health scare. Pick one. Life always picks one. Jake's runway, the number of weeks he survives with no paycheck, is about 3 weeks. The keeper had 20 million pounds and a keep rate of 0. Jake has a normal paycheck and a keep rate of 0. Same score. Fewer zeros. Let that sit for a second. Here comes the pushback. And it's a fair one. A footballer blowing 20 million pounds is nothing like me. I'd obviously save it. I'm not an idiot with an agent and a tax shelter. And the strong version of that argument is real. Economists have shown for decades that higher earners genuinely do save a larger share of their income. The rich really do bank more, not just spend more. The very top now save over half of what they take in. And an athlete's money is structurally stranger than yours. It arrives as a 2 to 4 year spike, often steered by predatory advisors with no tax taken out at the source. Your salary is smoother, taxed before you ever see it, and nobody's pushing you into a movie financing scheme. All true, so concede it cleanly. On average, yes, a raise should lift your saving rate, and no, you won't lose 20 million pounds to a divorce lawyer. But here's where the spreadsheet meets the human. The data we just walked says the discipline you're assuming mostly isn't there. Half of 6-figure earners, and 1 in 5 of the $150,000 crowd, are living check to check, not because they can't do math, but because the raise lands and the lifestyle eats it before anyone decides to save. So the decision rule is brutal and simple. If you have to choose to save the raise after it hits your account, you'll spend it. Move it before you ever see it. Because by the end of the broke superstar story, the only ones still getting paid were the bankruptcy court and the auction house. Somebody always collects, even when there's nothing left to collect. So let's make sure the somebody is you. Remember the man on the pitch? The one who earned a fortune and kept nothing? There's a version of that story that ends the other way, and you already know him. Frugal Frank. Frank never earned anywhere near a footballer's money. He got the same kind of raise Jake got. But Frank did one thing differently. He decided what to keep before he decided what to spend. He drove the paid-off car another 3 years and sent the $748 he didn't spend straight into the market, and he never felt poorer because he never saw it. Here's the whole framework, and it's 3 moves. Move 1. Bank the raise before you ever see it, not after, before. Economists built a famous program called Save More Tomorrow, where workers agreed in advance to send their future raises straight into savings. Their saving rate climbed from 3.5% to 13.6% over a few years, and it never hurt because their take-home pay never actually dropped. The raise just landed somewhere that worked for them instead of evaporating. So the day a raise starts, a fixed slice of it goes automatically somewhere you have to work to get it back. Move 2. Pick a keep rate and defend it like a backline. Decide the percentage of every dollar that stays with you. Start at 15%, push toward 20%. Automate it, then guard that number when your income rises. Lifestyle will always try to shove your keep rate back to 0. Your only job is to not let it. Move 3. Hold your lifestyle flat through one full raise cycle. Just one. Let a raise come and change nothing about how you live. Same car, same apartment, same week. And watch the gap between what you earn and what you keep crack open for the first time in your life. That gap is the only thing that was ever wealth. And here's what that gap becomes, because this is the part nobody puts in front of you. $500 a month, the cost of Jake's upgraded car, invested at a 7% return for 30 years, grows to about $610,000. You put in roughly $180,000 of that. The market hands you the other $430,000 for free. Same $500. One version is a car worth nothing in 10 years. The other is most of a retirement. Check the math yourself. We'll wait. And the cruelest, most beautiful part is the clock. $200 a month starting at 25 becomes about $500,000 by 65. The same $200 started at 35? About $250,000. Waiting 10 years didn't cost you 10 years of contributions. It cost you half the result. The keep rate isn't just what you keep. It's how early you start keeping it. So who profits from you never running this math? Go back to those 97 cents of every dollar you spend. Every one of them is somebody's revenue. The lender writing the car loan, the brand selling the upgrade, the fund manager skimming a fee off money you were too busy to manage yourself. That's the Wall Street villain in this story. And he isn't twirling a mustache. He's just quietly counting on one thing, that the raise feels like permission to spend, not permission to keep. No one sends the memo that says the raise was never the prize, Astide. The gap you protect from it is. So consider this the memo, because wealth was never the size of the check. It's the distance between what you earn and what you keep, and you build that distance on purpose before the money ever touches your hands. So go back to that living room. The World Cup's still on. The man on your screen earning a fortune in front of 90,000 people. You see him differently now. Not a man getting rich, but a man whose keep rate the world is about to discover, while the same number gets quietly written on you in smaller digits from the couch. If there's a number in your own life that doesn't add up, a raise that vanished, a paycheck that never feels like enough, drop it in the comments. We read every one. And the sharpest become the next breakdown. And if the man who earned everything and kept nothing got under your skin, the flip side will too. The people who look broke on purpose and quietly own everything. That's the invisible rich breakdown, and it's the next thing to watch. Like this if it changed how you see your money. Subscribe to join the people who see the next move coming. And hit the bell so you're not the last to know. Because 20 million pounds in your Tuesday paycheck obey the exact same rule. The only score that follows you home isn't on the scoreboard. It's the gap between what you earned and what you kept.